day to everyone. This will be our second video discussion for the subject HRM 183, that is Food and Beverage Labor Cost Control. Mainly, we will be talking about menus, recipe standardization, and the most common weight measurements and conversion. Without further ado, let's try to discuss this as briefly as possible and as simplified as possible. So let's begin. Menus. Typically, menus are known as the driver of the food of every food service operation. Dito nakasalalay kung gaano kaganda ang magiging performance, kung magiging patok ba ang o kung mag-skyrocket ba ang sales, um, kung tatangkilikin ba ng mga tao, if they will be attracted enough to look and see. Kasi, 'di ba, tayo, the first thing that we look for whenever we come to restaurants are menus. And basically, pag titingnan mo lang ang menu, alam mo kagad sa sarili mo kung um, magiging masaya, magiging masarap ang stay mo, kung magiging sulit ba. Kasi nandun lahat ng kailangan mong malaman. Nandun ang presyo, nandun ang pangalan ng products, mga pangalan ng food items, description ng mga food items, nandun din. Pictures, oftentimes mga visual aids tungkol sa mga pagkain na in-offer nila. And everything else, makikita mo kung ano yung cuisine na in-offer ng restaurant. You will also see if the restaurant is quality or maganda ang quality ng restaurant niya based on the menu that is given to you. Pag binigyan ka ng menu na parang nakapapel tas naka-laminate, 'di ba, most of the time nakikita natin ang menu na 'yon sa mga bars, mga food, o sa mga resto bars, sa mga common areas kung saan mas maraming foot traffic ang pumupunta. Whereas pag binigyan ka naman ng menu na maganda ang bound, maganda ang cover, maganda ang pagkakabind sa kanya, maganda ang quality ng produkto na ginamit to create the menu, makikita mo na, okay, siguro this restaurant really is a quality restaurant kasi maganda ang menu nila. So basically, everything that you need to know in every restaurant or in every restaurant, menu talaga ang tinutuunan ng pansin or unang tinitingnan ng mga tao. So with that said, what are the types and categories of menus? So there are different. Actually, there are three kinds of menus. We have here the static menu, cycle menu, and daily or single-use menus. And I think based from the words itself or based from the names of the terminologies presented here, alam nyo na kung ano ibig sabihin ng mga menu na to. Static menu, it means hindi siya nagbabago, hindi siya nagpapalit-palit. It is what it is. Usually, yung mga static menu, makikita mo siya sa casual dining restaurants or fast food, tulad na nakalagay dito sa quick service or QSRs, such as McDonald's or Jollibee. And other casual restaurants na hindi naman ganun ka-afford magbago ng menu. So, static menu, same lang siya as is throughout the whole operation. Maybe there are a few changes along the way in terms of pricing or in terms of new items maybe or promo items. Pero static menu, yun talaga siya, hindi siya nagbabago. Next is the cycle menu. Cycle menu are most often used in non-commercial food service operation. So, saan ba minsan, makikita mo ang cycle menu sa schools, sa mga cafeterias. 'Di ba, di ba nung tayo ay face-to-face classes pa, meron pa tayo nung ating mga canteen or cafeterias natin. Paulit-ulit or cycle, hindi naman paulit-ulit, no, pero kumbaga it's cycling along the way, parang yung food items na nakita mo in-offer a few weeks ago or a few days ago will be offered again in different days or in different weeks. So yun nga, school cafeterias, hospitals, also sa mga offices, yung mga office cafeteria or office canteens, dun yun, yung cycle menu nila. There are few advantages and disadvantages for cycle menus. So since yun nga no, nagro-rotate lang yung mga kinakain mo. Oftentimes hindi talaga kumbaga nawawala kasi yung variety ng food. So minsan hindi talaga siya appropriate for commercial use. Madalas na siyang ginagamit talaga for secondary source of income. Parang ganun. You don't really create a restaurant with a cycle menu. Bihira lang ang ganung klaseng mga restaurants na nag-offer ng cycle menus. Often, the advantage of cycle menus kasi is meron ka ng alam na set of inventory or set of stocks na iyong gagamitin. And then, hindi na ganun din kahirap ang pag-prepare ng mga dish kasi ulit-ulit nga lang siya, so mas mababa ang labor cost niya, panigurado. And also, ayun nga, ulit-ulit siya, so low cost ang naging yield niya, no? Mababa lang ang cost niya. And since low cost siya, kaya niya magpresyo ng hindi rin ganun kamahal or minsan pa nga libre, 'di ba? Sa hospitals or sa or kung saan man. Kasi hindi naman yun yung main source of income. Kumbaga sa school cafeterias or school cafeterias and office cafeterias are cycle menus kasi kaya nilang paulit-ulitin yung mga pagkain kasi hindi naman yun yung main source of income nila, di ba? Same thing goes with hospitals. Next, we have daily or single-use menus. Based on the term itself, everyday siya nagbabago. So most of the time, ibig sabihin kung everyday nagbabago ang menu or kung once mo lang gagamitin yung menu na yun, it means that meron kang kakayahan na baguhin yung menu mo everyday. So if everyday you will change your menu, most likely you are a fine dining restaurant or you are a special type of restaurant na nag-offer ng select lang na menu or parang omakase tulad ng sinasabi nila. But very, very special events or very, very special restaurants will offer daily menus or single-use menus. There are other ways to categorize menu. Aside from these main three, which is static, yung nagsistay or iisa lang ang menu na throughout the whole operation. Cycle menus, paulit-ulit or nagsicycle lang siya along the operation. And then we have the daily or single use na once lang or everyday the menu changes. Other ways to categorize menus, we have the function of the menu such as tasting, catering, hotel room service, dessert, wine, or drinks. So of course, there will be a different set of menu for beverages, for food, for catering, for a tasting menu, of course, hotel room service, iba rin, and dessert. Another thing to categorize menus is the mealtime period. Iba ang menus ng breakfast, iba ang menu ng lunch, iba ang menu ng happy hour or dinner. Next, we have the style of service. So, basically, mag-iiba ang menu mo depende kung anong style ng service meron ka. American service is a plated service. So, ibig sabihin, every food is already presented on a plate. Nandun na siya lahat. We have French or tableside cooking or what we call geridon. Of course, iba rin ang kanyang menu. And also yung Russian or silver platter service natin. We also have here pricing styles for our menus. We have here the a la carte. Each item is individually priced. So yun yung ibig sabihin po ng a la carte, no? Parang pinaka-solo lang siya or every item is priced individually. So you can buy each item individually. Next, we have here the tableau. Selection of complete meals offered at a set prices. So kung yung a la carte natin is each item is individually priced, we have here the tableau, a selection of complete meals offered at a set price. So para siyang yung mga combo natin or yung mga promo items. And we have here other pricing styles as well na pwede mong i-combine from each shift. But napapansin nyo naman, di ba, sa mga fast food restaurants natin, most of the time, ang mga pinapresent talaga nila sa inyong pagkain is yung mga nakatablo door, yung mga naka-combo, yung mga naka-set prices na. Pero, you can also buy food items na a la carte lang or iisa lang naman, walang mga combinations of or walang set of complete meal. The amount of selection, basically it's selective. Customer has many choices, typical of a family or casual restaurant. Non-selective, no choice, as with many tasting menus, hospital special diet menus, or sit-down banquets, or limited or semi-selective. So we have basically that's it. Differences ng menu based off the amount of selection. So pag selective ang menu mo, pag marami kang choices, non-selective naman ang menu mo pag hindi marami yung choices mo or no choices, as with many tasting menus or hospital special diets. And we have here the limited or semi-selective, typical of small operations, fine dining or themed restaurants. So yun yung mga klase ng menus na kailangan nating aralin or you should be well aware of. Pero ano naman ang gagawin natin for menu planning? Ano yung mga kailangan nating i-consider in order for us to have a very successful menu? Or in order for us to have a wait lang. In order for us to have a good menu or a successful menu. Kasi nga, di ba, tulad ng sabi natin kanina, menu is the sort of the driver of the restaurant. So, dapat we take proper precautions in making or in generating a menu. Hindi lang siya yung basta-basta. Hindi ka naman syempre maglalagay. By the way, a really good menu will not make the customer or the guest ask for definition or ask for help. Parating kasi sa menu natin, dapat lahat ng kailangan malaman ng guest natin, nandun na. If in any case the guest will ask the waiter or the food server a menu related question, it should be yung what is the most recommended item here in the menu. By the way, also just a precaution na lang din, no, for each and every one of you guys. If you will be dining out soon, hopefully, when the time comes to save sa lahat talaga, try to avoid asking question to the waiter like, what is the most recommended item in the menu? Most of the time kasi, lalo na kung ang menu nyo, ay kung ang restaurant na pupuntahan mo is sort of like a semi-casual or a casual formal dining or something na medyo pricey or classy. If you will ask the question like that, yun nga, yung what is the most recommended item in the menu, most often than not, I'm not saying most of the time, I'm not saying that all of the time this is what happens. Pero there are times that the server will say a specific item. They will say that, ma'am, ito po yung recommended items namin. Only because the stocks or the inventory or the raw materials that is required to produce that menu item is expiring soon. Or malapit nang maubos. Or yun nga, malapit nang masira. Kaya every time, no, every operations kasi ng restaurants, meron tayong sinasabi ng mga table briefing or yung mga operation briefing natin, and then the managers will say or will itemize a few menu items. Sasabihin nila na, okay, push sales for these items kasi ito yung mga items na kailangan na natin maubos yung mga stocks nila. So you should push sales these items. So pag tinanong mo yung waiter kung ano yung most recommended item nila at sinabi ng mga manager nila na i-push itong mga items na to, they will really most likely offer that product. So, yun, unless you really know what you're getting into, try to avoid asking that question. Siguro kung gusto mo man ng most recommended item, have a specific category in mind. Like say for example, I'm craving for beef or for a pork right now. Tanongin mo yung server mo, ano ba yung masarap na pork dish nyo dito or chicken dish nyo dito or vegetable dish nyo, mga ganun. Or ano ba ang babagay sa ganito, ano ba ang babagay sa ganyan. Not something very generic like, what is your most recommended item? So, yan, balik tayo dito sa ating discussion, menu planning principles. So we have here different factors that affects menu planning. First area is customer satisfaction. So customer satisfaction based from social cultural background. Ibig sabihin nito, kailangan mo pa rin talaga pag-aralan ang market mo. Ilang beses natin itong inulit with entrepreneurship, ilang beses natin itong inulit with operations management. Pati rin dito sa food and beverage labor cost control, meron din. Ganon ka-importante ang pag-aaral sa ating market. You should always study your market first before entering a business. Next, food habits and preferences. So makukuha mo to based dun sa mga feedback, dun sa iyong observation, sales performance mo. Makikita mo kung ano yung mga food items na madalas orderin, mabilis orderin. Makikita mo yung mga food items na in-order in season and everything else, and so on and so forth. Makikita mo to dun sa iyong feedback and observations. Next, we have nutritional influence. Of course, you should always keep in mind the health of your customers as well. Try to offer something balanced in your menus. Nakikita mo naman, di ba, may mga restaurants na nag-offer ng very, very, very fatty foods. Pero makikita mo meron din silang mga ibang foods na hindi naman ganun ka-fatty or hindi naman talaga ganun kataas sa cholesterol or sa calories, di ba? Something balanced para hindi para lahat ng klase ng customers, lahat ng klase ng guests pwedeng mag-avail ng products mo. And lastly, of course, aesthetics. Aesthetics meaning yung kagandahan or yung design ng iyong menu also affects, of course, the success of your menu. Next, you also have your management decisions and the factors below. You have your food cost, budgetary goals of the food service operation. So, mainly, ang mga nakalagay na presyo sa menu natin, nakadepende yan kung gaano kataas ang cost natin in each menu item. So, pag-aaralan natin yan as we go along the semester, how to properly do a food costing and how to apply it in pricing your items. You also have your production capability, including available equipment and personnel. So, dito naman nakalagay yung capacity natin or capacity ng isang restaurant. So, aalamin mo muna, of course, kung ano yung mga menu items na kayang i-produce on that day or ano yung mga items na hindi kayang ma-produce due to some reason, maybe because of a faulty equipment, maybe because of an absence of an employee or a personnel, and so on and so forth. So you have to, of course, know your capacity or know your capabilities first before including menu items in your menu. Of course, availability of food is also a factor to consider when organizing your menu. I guess this is pretty much self-explanatory. Siyempre, hindi ka maglalagay ng food items sa menu mo kung hindi naman yun available, diba? Next, type of service and food delivery system. Of course, when we create a restaurant or when we are planning to open a restaurant, meron kang pinaplano or kasama sa planning stage mo kung papaano darating yung pagkain sa table ng guest mo. There are many ways for you to do that. There are many types of services available. Tulad na sabi natin kanina, we have here the American, we have the French, we have the Russian style of service. We also have, kung maniniwala naman kayo, meron ding mga automated na food delivery systems din. Like say for example, may mga yung tawag dito, yung sushi belt na may rotating na belt lang sa gitna. And then nandun na yung mga pagkain na ginagawa ng mga guests kung kuha na lang sila ng pagkain doon. Or it will be delivered to you as parang merong panel sa gilid mo na it's used as a platform for parang mga train cars or parang mga train carts na nag-slide through dun sa panels na yon. And then nandun yung pagkain mo. Makikita mo yun. Meron dito sa Philippines nag-o-offer nun, yung Genki Sushi na restaurant. They offer that kind of service. Hindi ang mga table servers na nagbibigay ng food sa inyo. Ang nagbibigay ng food is yun, yung mga parang mga kotse na umaandar-andar sa gilid ng kainan mo. And also your ordering system is also like that. May table, may parang tablet doon, tapos magpipili-pili ka lang doon, magtatap-tap ka lang kung ano yung gusto mong orderin. Next and lastly, of course, the philosophy of the business and food service operation. So, basically, 'di ba, yun nga no, since menu is the driver of the restaurant, of course you will try your best to put your soul or put the identity of the restaurant doon sa menu na yun. Kasi the menu will really speak for the business. So, as much as possible, no, you will try to incorporate the ideas, the philosophies of the business or of the restaurant doon sa menu na ginagawa mo. So, those are the factors to consider in creating your own menu. Most likely, this will also be included in your exams. So, please try to be familiar with this, no, yung mga factors affecting menu, this one, other ways to categorize menu, other types of menus like this one. Again, next, we'll go with recipe standardization. With this one, I'm not really going to discuss everything here in the module. I'm going to discuss what is important here in this module. The first thing na important dito is, yan, a good standardized recipe will include this one. Please try to read and understand kung ano yung mga laman ng mga standardized menu natin. Pero what I'm trying to what I would like uh to emphasize here in this menu is this one, yung mga questions na ito. Why do you need to use standard recipe and the benefits, arguments often used against standardized recipes, and so on and so forth. So ano po ba in the first place ang standardized recipes? Tayo 'di ba, pag pumupunta tayo sa mga restaurants natin, we always want we always want to experience the same thing we experienced back then when we ate at that restaurant. For example, pinaka simple example na lang dito is Jollibee. Sa Jollibee, pag nag-order ka ng Chicken Joy, yung Chicken Joy na nakuha mo or natikman mo noong, let's say for example, nung a few weeks ago, should still be the same kind of Chicken Joy that you will experience at that specific moment. Dapat pare-parehas or dapat parehas lang ang lasa niya, parehas lang ang quality niya, same thing as what you had back then. And that is because of a standardized recipe. Same with burgers, same with Jollibee spaghetti. And then mapapansin mo, no, bakit parang iba? Minsan iba ang lasa ng Chicken Joy, minsan iba ang pagkakagawa ng spaghetti, minsan iba ang lasa rin ng yung burger nila. How so? Ibig sabihin, hindi nasunod yung standardized recipe. And that is one benefit of a standardized recipe. It will make your products consistent. Pare-parehas ngayon ang quality ng product mo doon sa product na binigay mo way back then and doon sa product na matitikman din ng mga guest mo ngayon. That's one importance of a standardized recipe, consistency. And I think that is one of the most important factors in order for us to have a repeat customer. In this industry or in this business, repeat customers are our best option. Sila ang mag-spread ng word of mouth. Sila ang magiging patron ng mga products mo. So you have to have a standardized recipe in order for your food to have consistent quality. That's one thing. Aside from it being consistent, another thing na sabi dito. Saan ba dito yun? Ayan. Aside from having a consistent quality of product throughout the whole operation life mo, it is also very much effective for you to have an accurate recipe costing and menu pricing. It is impossible without standardized recipe. Hindi ka makakapag, hindi magiging pare-parehas ang presyo ng cost. Ayun nga, hindi magiging pare-parehas ang cost mo kung hindi ka gumagamit ng standardized recipe. By the way, yun nga, na standardized recipe, I guess we haven't really defined it yet. It is a recipe na stand alone and will speak on its own. Para siyang yung identity mismo ng dish mo. For example, in this one, ang kanyang menu item is creme anglaise. And in this dish, ito yung parang pagkaka-standard niya. So it means every time that you will create this dish, it should always have these ingredients: 10% cream, egg yolks, sugar, and vanilla bean. Without these four ingredients, it won't be creme anglaise. It should have this kind of count, unit size, AP cost, yield, and total. This one pala, sige, we'll go through this along after we discuss this. So yun nga, it's important na meron kayong standard na recipe sa mga niluluto ninyo para pare-parehas lang ang cost every time. Para pare-parehas lang ang gastos mo every time na gagawa ka ng dish na yun, tsaka para mas madaling i-monitor ngayon. Without a standard recipe, syempre mahihirapan kang i-monitor yung remaining stocks mo, yung remaining inventories mo, mahihirapan kang ayan nga mag-price ng menu mo kasi nga hindi mo alam kung ano yung standard na cost, hindi mo alam kung ano yung cost talaga ng product mo. So that is one of the most important things then to consider, or one of the importance of a standard recipe. Next, yan, all arguments often used against standardized recipe. So ibig sabihin pala, no, meron pa rin pala mga tao na minsan hindi nila ginagawa to, yung standardized recipe. And due to many reasons, kaya hindi nila ginagawa yung standard recipe. It takes too long to use, or it takes too long to write and develop. Kasi ano ba? This is the importance of research and development, or yung R&D. Hindi ko alam kung saan ko nasabi yung R&D. Maybe nasabi ko yun sa operations management or sa entrepreneurship. Pero research and development is very important for standardized recipes kasi yan nga na, research and development is trial and error. You always try and try to cook or to look for the right amount to use para sa yung dish. For example, ikaw ay gumagawa ng, let's say, ang pinakasimple na siguro is, let's say for example, chicken wings. Since doon naman din talaga SJC wings din yung sinabi ko doon sa entry natin. Chicken wings, at ang sauce na ginagawa mo is classic buffalo. And sa classic buffalo sauce mo, ang iyong standard na recipe is you use this specific kind of, or this specific brand of hot sauce, this specific brand and amount of butter, and this specific amount of acid or this specific amount of lemon juice or lime juice or vinegar, and then you also use some sugar. And then all of a sudden naisip mo na okay, siguro hindi pa to medyo okay. It still lacks something. So magluluto ka na naman ng panibagong set of wings with a different set of hot sauce, different butter, different acid, and different amounts of sugar. You will do a trial and error run all of the time until you get the correct taste or the correct quality that you want. That is the importance of research and development. It takes too long to write and develop it, and it is very costly. Napakamahal mag-R&D kasi nga magluluto or gagawa ng product every time. So Pero, ang end result niya, pag kayo ay pag nahanap niyo na yung timpla na gusto ninyo, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng standard recipe. And dun sa standard recipe na yon, magiging consistent ngayon yung quality niya. Kasi since na-record mo nga lahat na ito dapat yung susundin mong amount, ito dapat yung susundin mong brand, pare-parehas lang yung kanyang magiging cost, pare-parehas lang yung magiging yung amount na kailangan mong gamitin in each and every item. So, yun, standard recipe, it will lower the cost and it will have a consistent yield of quality dun sa product mo. So, yun, yung importance and some disadvantages maybe of having a standardized recipe. Alright, so sorry no, kinat ko lang saglit yung video natin. Pero we'll resume with the discussion right now. Regarding sa ating standard recipe, we'll just try to define each and every part of a recipe or of a standard recipe once na nandun na tayo sa part na yun ng pagkukuha or pagkukuha ng isang ng cost in each food and beverage item. So now, one of the important things that you have to study is the weights and measurements. Basically, yung conversion niya. This is one of the most important things that you have to be familiar when doing your cost control. So ano nga ba yung mga ano nga ba yung mga um, kailangan nating maalala dito sa conversion table na to? Well, basically itong mga to you guys already know each and everything. Volume measurement usually with liquids or fluids. So ginagamit dito yung mga you measure by volume yung mga fluids and liquids natin. You measure by count yung mga items na pwede mong i-count such as eggs. And we also have here by weight. Most of the time, ito yung mga solid proportions natin. And aside from solid, nandito rin yung mga dry ingredients natin. And you also have the most important weighing scale sa lahat ng restaurant. Kahit kayo kung gusto niyo magkaroon ng very accurate na weighing scale talaga, this is the weighing scale to go. Digital portion scales or like this one, yung mga maliliit lang. Now, ayan, one of the most important things that you have to be familiar with is this table, particularly tablespoon, teaspoon, and this one. Now, with this conversion table, makikita mo, 1 tablespoon is equal to 3 teaspoon, which is equal to 15 milliliters. Ibig sabihin, gaano kadami ang laman ng isang teaspoon. Paano kaya malalaman? You guys should be a little bit familiar with this already. Kung ang isang tablespoon ay 3 teaspoon and that's 15 milliliters, it means 5 milliliters ang laman ng each teaspoon natin. Tama ba? And also with that being said, kung 1 tablespoon is equal to 15 milliliters, it means 15 times 4 is 60 milliliters. That is 1/4 of a cup. So, ang cup naman natin ngayon, 1 cup is 240 milliliters exactly kasi 60 times 4, that is 240, which is 240 milliliters, which is ang laman ng isang cup natin. And to be honest with you, yun lang. Ang isa sa mga yun lang ang isa sa mga kailangan nyo malaman. Pag familiar na kayo doon sa weight values na yun, sa mga weight measurements na yun, I'm very much sure na alam niyo na rin kung ano yung gagawin niyo in the future sa mga sa mga measurements niyo. So lagi niyo natatandaan, each teaspoon is 5 milliliters each and 1 tablespoon is equal to 3 teaspoons. So halimbawa, nakalagay dun sa recipe mo na 1 tablespoon of salt ang gagamitin mo. Pero for some reason, you don't have a tablespoon available with you. And meron ka lang is teaspoon. So, paano mo i-measure yun? Just measure 3 teaspoons, that is equal to 1 tablespoon already. Or, you just measure 15 milliliters or 15 grams of something, that is equal to 1 tablespoon already. By the way, ang conversion pala ng fluid measurements into solid measurements, 1 milliliter is equal to 1 gram. So, kung makikita nyo na 15 milliliters ang nakalagay dito, it means 15 milliliters of water. Pag i-convert mo naman into solid and you're trying to look for 1 tablespoon of a solid ingredient, that's 15 grams. So, next thing, 1 cup na is 240 milliliters. To be honest with you, this is one of the most controversial measurements, yung cup. Minsan kasi ang measurement ng cup is 250. Minsan 200 lang. May nakikita ko 220 grams lang. Pero ang pinakaalam ko talaga na conversion ng cup is 250 milliliters or 250 grams. Pero for the sake of our modules, we'll just follow this measurement. 240 milliliters is equal to 1 cup. Yun lang naman ang pinakakailangan yung alalahanin talaga if you want something useful for the rest of your lives. Yun lang din talaga ang gagawin nyo. In fact, kahit ako hanggang ngayon, yun lang din ang nasa isip ko. Yung tablespoon, teaspoon, and cup conversion. And also ito, yung kilogram and pound conversion. Pero for this module, we have to also be familiar and memorize this. Kahit itong 2 table lang na ito. Yung conversion ng 1 tablespoon, conversion ng 1 quart into 2 pints, yan. And yan, yung mga conversion na yan. Yung mga kailangan ko. This one naman kasi, itong mga conversion na ito na sa gilid, pwede naman kasi yan i-search sa internet pag kayo ay nahihirapan na. Pero, para lang naman may idea kayo or para mabilis nyo lang maalala, ito yung mga gusto kong ipaalala sa inyo. 1 pint is equal to 2 cups, 1 quart is equal to 4 cups, 1 quart is equal to 2 pints, and so on and so forth. Yan. And I guess that's it. Yun lang naman talaga ang kailangan nyo malaman dito sa sa module na to. The rest is typically self-explanatory. So if you want to learn more about these things, you can just study everything on your own. Pero what I have taught here in this discussion is yung mga pinaka-importante or yun yung mga lalabas most likely sa exam natin. So that's it. I hope you guys understood a little bit more about menus, standardized recipe, and itong mga measurements natin. If you have some questions or further questions, you can always reach to me via FB Messenger. So with that being said, goodbye to everyone. Stay safe and God bless you all.